What's up, ladies, gentlemen, and special snowflakes? Earlier, I wanted to welcome you to a late night Friday night streaming. Now, I was going to do this video as a breakdown video, but I thought, why the fuck not? Let's stream it. Let's have a good old time. For those of you who aren't drunk, or maybe you are drunk, but you're not out with your friends and you're stuck alone here. And those of you watching it on, later, good for you. I need a way to blasting, and I really need blasting. It's funny thing. This article you can see right here. You can read it. It's William Shatner is attacked. Snowflakes, social justice, and misandry. Captain Kirk's fighting the social justice warrior. It's actually quite funny. But this. I have a alert set up for my Gmail, so when topics regarding certain things, like I have a thing regarding Mars, or when certain movies or things about the Marvel, but I also have one for social justice, and this one came up like 2 days ago, so I really wanted to cover this one, because this one, God, I can't, it's the only reason I heard about it because I saw like Monday Matt and Andy Worthy. I'm like, I remember seeing that. So I didn't think much of it, but I'm like, no, I gotta. So this article is by Gizmodo, and I already kind of looked at the very beginnings of this article, and it is so fucking cringy. But bear with me. I had to read this once, and I literally started screaming. So. Listen. Oh, look. Let's see how smart we are. We're going to do that image in an episode where Shatner dressed up in a Nazi uniform. Clearly he's evil, even though he's a Jew. He's a Canadian Jew. And $10 says many people don't understand what the fuck this thing was used for. The fact that this was a idea that, doing repeats of certain ideologies won't work. I wish Social Justice Warriors would learn that. Maybe that's what he's trying to say. Anyway, so William Shatner, perhaps best known for his narration of the film Operation Bikini. Okay, no one's ever fucking heard this, so I know you're being a sarcastic asshole. Basically saying, "Oh, nobody knows about certain." Like the problem is you come off as like you're trying to basically point out his least known work and go, oh, look at, because in the article they refer to Star Trek as a cult film. Now, while it started out as that, honestly, Star Trek is basically a mainstream. I mean, you can say, do this, or beam me up, Scotty. Or if you're a Next Gen fan, someone references Earl Grey tea, or maybe references to holodeck, or what the fuck. Or warp speed. It's a fairly big cornerstone of modern, at least in my opinion, culture. At least, it's a founding principle of geek culture. And they're like, well, he's only famous for this. I'm like, you at least could have said the Twilight Zone. At least that will at least. But no, Operation. He was the fucking guy on the plane, losing his mind. We're not sure if he really was mad when he saw something on the wing. A gremlin. And not the ones that burst into flames and sunlight, and if you feed them after midnight, they turn into... Which I never got how they knew it was midnight. It was Anyway, so... Let's continue on. So, this time he's taken it too far. Or, yeah, he's totally taking it too far, but he's taken aim at the snowflakes and misanders and the social justice warrior SJWs. I think it should be reversed. You should go SJWs and have, in parentheses, social justice warriors. Have annoyed him on Twitter so much. Well, they can be assholes, but sometimes it's real fucking fun to troll social justice warriors. Let's read what he said. This is why SJWs think they can align themselves with those who demand reform in the 1960s. Interesting. Now, despite his, stop it. The I'm sorry to say, but this was stupid. That line about Operation, nobody from, you know what? If they said that, despite his works on, again, Twilight Zone, or T.J. Hooker, or Boston Legal, that would have been at least, their works that, unlike Star Trek, which are still known, but they're not as notable compared. Yeah, we heard of T.J. Hooker, or his Rescue 911. Yeah, that was a thing back in like the 80s. There was like a whole show where William Shatner was like the intro host to a show about 911 calls where people reacting was going on. It's the kind of shit your great granny would watch. I know it's cringy. If you really want to see what kind of shit that he was in, go back and watch like I Love the 80s. That shit was like really old time. So, okay, deep breath. Gotta get through this slog. Hopefully, I can find a better image. All right. So, despite Operation P, is known for a small cult fan base. I know Trekkies can be assholes, and they will literally argue days on end because I've talked with Trekkies. I like Star Trek. No, I didn't get into the original one. I got more into Next Gen because that's what my dad was watching when I was younger. Then I got kind of into Voyager, which Voyager was actually a really good series. And then Enterprise, where they kind of started jumping the shark with things like Temporal Cold Wars and, a mini Death Star. There was literally at one point Star Trek ripped off Star Wars. They had basically a flying Death Star. Yeah, they went on to tell you before J.J. Abrams got a hold of it. Just wasn't the lens flare. But Star Trek again. I hate this. They're being so pretentious. They're a cult. Cell phones, flip phones, were inspired. The Star Trek also inspired tablets. If you look at Picard and Janeway and all them, they're clearly reading stuff off tablets. And this was clearly a precursor to an e-reader. Yes, you had stuff like what was it called? Like the Apple Newton back in like the 90s, but Kindles and Palm Touch were the first like handheld internet. It wasn't until much later, till when our age, and we started seeing them become ubiquitous. But enough about Star Trek's this little cult fan base that somehow influenced the fucking world, where you have people from all over the world. If you do many people do the Vulcan salute, they'll go, I get that. It's not as universal as use the Force, Luke, because Star Wars was a movie and it blew up. I will admit Star Trek is a little bit more niche, but to say it's a cult thing. Here's my question: are you calling MLK a cult member? Because MLK was a huge fan of Star Trek prior to his unfortunate assassination, but he actually came up to Nichelle Nichols in it was a party, I think, and he was introduced to her, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of the show." At the time, she was thinking about leaving because she got offers on Broadway, and she told him as much. She said, "Listen, you really can't do that." He explained the fact that because O'Hara was a officer, someone who had a certain amount of authority on the ship. It was the first time that there weren't African American roles. You actually had what you might think of as the every person role, or you can literally put anyone in there. And in many ways, that's a good sign of good writing. Is that it's yes, the role, at least the base role, is anybody, but you can grow the character, and that's kind of what set things up for having the first interracial kiss on screen, having eventually a black captain. I mean, but to be fair, I mean, James Avery is a badass, and especially when he's bald. I mean, you don't fuck with Captain Sisko. He'll kick your ass. And then you had, after her, you had Janeway, the first female captain, who was a good captain. They didn't even rely on the fact that she was female. I mean, there was certain aspects. Yes, she was kind of the mother of the ship, but it felt right. It didn't feel forced. And if you notice, Shatner didn't complain about either of those things. In fact, there was, I believe, a interview or what they call like the captains, right? Had them all kind of meet and talk. Had everyone from Shatner, Stewart, Avery. I can't never remember her name. Janeway and Archer, Scott Bakula. And they're gonna say, "Oh, you can't remember well, her last name's kind of hard. It's Cat something, but no, the actors, but they all kind of met, and he didn't have a problem with Arch or with these guys because they were good. They did a really good job at what they did. That aside, let's get back. I am going way off track. I'm totally geeking out because I like me some sci-fi. I admit I am a nerd. It's been a long time since I played Dungeons and Dragons, but I do enjoy me some Skyrim and Fire Emblem. Those are some fun games. So let's get back into this article. Yes, I'll become Malcolm McDowell and talk about this article. Yes. So U.S. Cessna on the original story, and many fans are disappointed that Shatner has gone viral with his recent attacks against people who thought his presence was on a social progressive TV show from the 1960s that meant he shared their for that. The kind of progressivism that Star Trek was promoting versus modern progressivism, which goes against the kind of things he was dealing with. Star Trek, again, I was just, another thing, was about someone that is called the Wagon Train in the Sky, or basically he was dealing with issues, and it was very much an analogy for things like they dealt with racism, they dealt with fascism, and that, in fact, look, this whole the patterns of force, where he was basically, and I've talked about this, where he had to go down and deal with an anthropologist who thought that maybe implementing elements of fascism would help this one culture, which is war torn, become unified. The problem was he hadn't foreseen is a underling taking over, drugging him and basically using him to commit genocide against another civilization in the star system they're at. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, again, racism, they dealt with unity, they dealt with warring nations, Cold War. I mean, in the story, the Klingons and the Federation were in a Cold War. It wasn't until, much later in the next generation where you had the Klingons basically who became allies with humanity, and basically eventually you had a Klingon as a bridge operator. The progressive elements were a lot more subtle. They weren't trying to force things. They were more natural and organic, and hence why when, Uhura and Kirk had the kiss on TV, the first interracial kiss, people weren't freaking out as much. People were like, oh, okay. I mean, yes, some people were like, oh, dare you, this is, ungodly. You had some of those people, but I don't think most of those people were watching Star Trek. I mean, to be fair, at the time, Star Trek was, again, more of a fan venture. But let's go back on to because I know many people are Star Trek fans, and a lot of them are like, this is bullshit. So let's see. So, like, spend weekends on listening to you tell me about how to get out of their fandom. Yes, you know why they don't want you to. It's not. And my thing is, it's not a. Although I'm not sure specifically, it's not a huge number of social justice who are Trekkies. I mean, yes, you're gonna have them in there, but they're definitely not a huge part of the community. I mean, most people are like, "Hey, I like this show. It had some good stories." Some of them get really obsessive. I mean, there's a lady on YouTube named Gabe Cortula who literally claims that Brett Spiner is her husband and she has brain-to-brain sex with him. And that technically that the one that we see is actually a clone created by the Jesuits. Yeah, you heard me, Jesuit clone. I can't make this shit up. But, for the most part, the stories we're talking about dealing with issues. A lot of stuff was, like they've unlike the 60s. I'm going to talk about next year. Like many times they were trying to figure out. They were trying to think their way out. I mean, yes, Kirk did get in more fist fights than he needed to, and he fucking slept around with every fucking woman in the, the galaxy. Like you got, Vulcan, Torian, Romulan. She's got like 6 titties. Well, fuck it. It's like twice, like 3 times the groping. He didn't care, which in many ways kind of makes him an equal opportunity person. So, meaning he was much more open. But again, this was the 60s, and everyone was like, it was like free love, man. I mean, you want to see something draped in part of its time, you gotta go watch the original Battlestar Galactica. It's so, oh god, so cringy, and it definitely screamed. It's that is pretty much soaked in political agenda. That's a fun one if you want to look at film. But again, the thing that Star Trek did well, and that Gene Roddenberry did well, and even was to weave these stories very subtly. And this also Ingalls even pointed out in an interview, in the same interview, she talked about when she was talking about the MLK. She said that when she talked to Gene Roddenberry afterwards, that you're doing more rowdy tales. Like maybe not, but are they still good at it either way? I'm like, yeah, there's still a valid story method. I mean, fantasy, science fiction, and fantasy have been well-known allegories for telling stories. I mean, the fables are the oldest form of telling story. Conveying moral messages, or lessons. But beyond this kind of trite, Shatner's bad because he doesn't agree with us. This is mainly because George Takei came out on, because he was very progressive. Now, I don't, George Takei is kind of fun, but the problem is when you get, I think what's happened is this happens to many people who are perceived or in a group that are supposed to be progressive, or to follow a certain kind of politic, but they don't. This happens to when you have log cabin Republicans, gay Republicans, or gay trans, gender, as in the case of Caitlyn Jenner. You have someone who's like, yeah, I'm conservative, but I'm gay or lesbian or trans. I think the big problem is this article we see is that because of the effect Star Trek had on the the wider world, the effect on how science fiction science used to be very like black and white. I mean, yes, it was monochrome, but it was very the white guys. Whereas Star Trek kind of blur that line, and always made me question, why the fuck does Picard have an English accent when he's supposed to be a Frenchman? No. I'm not gonna go on that rant. I'm not gonna go on that tangent and that my theory. No. No. You gotta stop it. Yes. So the big problem again is Shatner doesn't fit their motif. He's not, the perfect fit. He was on a progressive thing, and for the most part, he seems to be fairly progressive, at least in a good way. But he may express some conservative values, because I just say that as you get older, your values may not be initially conservative when you're growing up, but it will shift that way. It's really like being, if you were on a moving, like a conveyor belt. Yes, as time goes by, you slowly move into the conservative, or, I used to be really, really little kid, like uber little, but now I identify myself as center left, and a lot of my stuff was like, I want, let's legalize weed, let's decriminalize prostitution, let's have, fuck, there's a lot of shit, but I'm like, but I'm not all for this, like, X number of genders. I love this about, like, Kurt, I don't, someone give William Shatner a cyborg body so he can ham it up for attorney and piss off the social, because, God, I'd love to see him go, you're, social justice is bullshit. There are only 2 genders. Well, let's see what else he said. What's funny is, apparently, I didn't realize this, is William Shatner apparently got blocked on Twitter, so none of this is new, as Shatner has been talking about his distaste for social justice warrior on social media for a long time. Well, no fucking shit. As early as July 2016, Shatner was talking about social and how they painted him as who simply wants to attack and hide. Well, yeah, it's true. A lot of them are like that. Or if you go to confront them, they will literally go, no, don't touch me. Safe space, la 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 la. Rainbow, la 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 blah 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 blah. They basically, they're like, I swear, and I've seen this. They're like autistic kids. So they're like, no. But if you like try to pull the finger in the air, they start freaking out. Again, proving my other point I've made in the past, that how much they are like. Shatner's claim that social justice warriors are people who stand for inequality. Well, here's my thing: is they do stand for equality, but in the wrong way. See, I've recently been reading a book called The Sword of Truth. It's the Sword of Truth series, and they kind of point out in one of the books they kind of show the downside to forced equality. You're able-bodied. Oh, you have to give X number to those who can't. You give basically like welfare or not, but a lot of people want equality of outcome as opposed to equality of opportunity, and I believe in you might call EOO, so equal opportunity, EOE, so equal opportunity employment, or the idea that you need to be able to do you should be allowed, given a chance. Maybe even giving a slight boost. Let's say you have a thing that sucks. Maybe given a jump start. I believe in that to a certain point. Like if you come from a poor neighborhood, great. Make it so that scholarships are not solely for that, but try to make an environment so they can grab those scholarships. Like, let's have better equity distribution of school resources. That way little Timmy living in, South Central, the same, opportunity as, Isaac in Encino. I know you must feel like I don't get this reference. Oh, fuck, I live in LA. I'm making references, but the problem is, again, going back, is they do truly stand for inequality. They want, how did it go? It was Undoom, which made a quote. It says a group's willingness to mitigate a situation is inversely proportional to how much they benefit from the situation. And many people benefit from laws and practices that are in effect already, and don't want laws and practices that are unequal. What would I mean? Unequal, or doesn't either don't provide the equal opportunity. Why? Because then that would cost them money. Because if social justice had something just be taught about, oh, we've already defeated patriarchy. Well, then fuck, that means there's nothing they benefit from. So, yeah. So these, and he's calling that he's just calling out misandry. Yes, because it does exist. I hate to say it. People are like, oh, misandry is not my motherfucker. You've never. I've met women who literally hate men for some reason. Maybe they had a bad childhood or whatever, but there are men who literally just. I mean, there was a guy, I can't remember her name, but she was the lead speaker at like some event. It was like, and she like had tortured a guy and done all that fucked up shit. So I'm like, well, fuck, man, why is she talking about equality when she like hated men? And people who are snowflakes, the term, okay, fuck you. Snowflakes have existed before the alt-right. I hate to say it, but snowflakes is a reference from Fight Club, and that was kind of, they're kind of, and a lot of the anti-social justice would adopt it as a way to say, you claim to be this super special thing. I'm gonna kind of make it, if you're snowflake, you're not unique, or if you are unique, you're not beautiful. Because being unique isn't. Yeah, well, safe spaces. Here's what I'm gonna say. I do believe the valid use of safe spaces. That we need to have them for like people who suffer from PTSD. People be able to go and say, yeah, I'm having a fucked up time, and you take them in and you go, okay, buddy, let's talk this out. No judgment here. What is important? Also, I forget who it was. I was watching it recently. It was on Dave Rubin. They said that do you need these certain intellectual safe spaces, like if you're dealing with something that you're studying something, but to want safe spaces everywhere, to spread out from onto an entire campus for like say sociology or biology or whatever the fuck you want to say. It undermines the need for free speech. Now, this is my safe space, to be fair. Somewhere I can vent to you guys. But unlike people, I have no expectations that, my ideas will be liked. And I know that I'll end up, when I flip on this camera and start talking, that technically my safe space has ended. But hey, that's just me. So Shatner has previously aligned himself with the so-called okay. Here, let me finish. Where he even claims to serve 4chan is not the only place alt-right. Though the alt-right did originate from there, it also had Anonymous and a bunch of other people. So also like Poll. 4chan is I don't know, it's it's the weird gene life pool of the web. I mean, you get random ass genes. I mean, memes that pop up. You get alt-right, but you get anonymous, who are hacktivist group. Basically, I mean, what do I need to tell you guys about now? So you pretty much know. If you don't, well, I mean, but in my opinion, kind of what's it called is 4chan is famous for producing trolls. Trolls, whether it's conservative or liberal or in the middle. I'm tired. I'm gonna finish this article and I'm gonna end this stream because why the fuck not? So back in and declined to speak against the intolerance of joking that he might be deported as he's Canadian. Yeah, well, yeah. You know what? Maybe, I don't think, I don't care about his political sways when it comes to Trump. I don't. And just because he doesn't want to speak up, and maybe that's just because, like, hey, I don't care because he's Canadian. Like, I don't give a fuck. It's not, it is that, he's not affecting me. So why would I do this? So, back in September, Shatner and his old cast sent a letter denouncing Trump's president. Shatner normally was absent and has made clear with each passing life. I love. Wait, let me do my Shatner. I love. So you don't understand even understand issues before they jump to fight, which is true. A lot of these people. So Shatner, I'm not sure why he didn't sign it. Maybe he was like, this. He's like, listen, I don't want to get involved in politics. He's trying to be apolitical. I mean, I get it. He likes to make fun of us. Who doesn't like to make fun of us? But maybe he's like, whatever. I'm gonna sit back. I mean, the dude's like 90-something. I mean, fuck, he was supposed to be like in his 30s when he did Star Trek. It's what? Let's see, Star Trek started back in 66. That's like my mom's born, which would mean it means his late 80s or something like that. So Shatner's old as fuck. So he's like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you all. I personally honestly don't like when you have fucking celebrities who want to get political. I mean, I understand you want to spread, but sometimes people get too political and it doesn't work with them. I mean, what's it called? Like fucking Kirk Cameron went fucking nutso on Christianity, and now he works with Ken Ham, or you had freaking Sarah. Who was it? Who was it? Sarah McLachlan or something like that? Who was like, anti-GMO or something like that. Or Jim Carrey. Yeah, he had that crazy ass. But yeah, I think some sort of like, I don't care. I mean, he's Canadian. I mean, and it explains it why he doesn't want to go back Canada. He's like, oh fuck, I got Trudeau there, Mister. Oh, I'm supposed to be nice. Swear, Trudeau's he's just trying to be everyone's best friend. Except for, I don't know, certain people. Ironically, this is where he's concerned. His constant ridicule, us just quite fond of no, okay, trolling is not bowling. Comments put at the risk of other. I love that trolling. Die-hard fans of this little... Okay. Fuck you. Star Trek is not a little known. Anyway, it seems that Shatner has not much... misunderstand the source material, but turn away from him. So, Manu Sadi, the author of Trekonomics, the economics of Star Trek, told me Star Trek is the lone show that carried the torch of equality and progressive and utopia into pop culture. Okay, there was one problem again with Star Trek, and this is an error. I know the crap on it. Is why the fuck will they have an economy based without money? I mean, because originally in the like Kirk made comments like, you earn your pay, Mr. Scott, and all that stuff. So the idea that getting rid of economics is stupid because people need to thrive for stuff. I mean, it's needed for more than just assets. I mean, you need it for trade. Anyway, let's go back. So to see one of the most famous ambassadors, anything you don't like, you become alt-right. Oh, you don't like alt-right, language. Should be a wake-up call. Well, again, not everything they say is alt-right. Alright. It is... Wow. It is ruinous for the 50-year-old franchise, especially so close to the launch of the first new show. In more than a decade, Shatner is known to be picky... prickly and jealous of his status. No, he's not. I mean, okay, he was kind of a dick early on, but he's not jealous. He's not jealous of Sir Patrick Stewart or the other captains. Why? Because a lot of them I've seen. He's like, hey, I started this out, and it's my thing. So maybe he shouldn't stand. He had to and train a new. Okay, the crews have always been fucking diverse on Star Trek. Don't pull that bullshit. They are diverse. Again, you had. Generally, the ship was commanded by two Jews because you had Spock, played by the late great Leonard Nimoy, who was he was a Jew. You had a Scottish guy, you had a Russian during the era of the Cold War. You had an Asian American. A man who had been through Manzanar. I think it was Manzanar. Yeah, he was in LA. He had been through the internment camps. You had an African American woman. That was pretty diverse. And then let's shoot ahead to the Next Generation. You had in the first season. You had the security officer was a female. Then you had a black engineer. A British, I have a whole theory that maybe Picard that has a French dad and an English mother, and it was kind of like Crown Tea and kind of got a mixed accent, but then was sent to somewhere like Oxford, and that's why he lost his French accent. But again, you have Picard, you have a female doctor as opposed to Bones. You had Crusher. You had Worf, who was an alien. An alien who the Federation had been at war with years ago. So So Star Trek is a lot. Star Trek is a lot of things, but at its heart, it stands. Let's see. It stands for the ideals that the fruit of technology and social product should be equally shared amongst all humanity, and that's definitely not what Shatner. Okay, no, what he's annoyed again. Do you not read what he said? In fact, you contradict yourself. He said that feminists are for inequality. He's directly saying that he's for equality. But you're like, no, because he doesn't like my ideas. He's not for equality. How dare you suggest that he be for equality, because that would run against my narrative. I don't want that because it feels wrong. Yeah. But the big thing is that Star Trek, yes, does stand for diversity. And that I think that's what Shatner was for. But let's finish this damn quote, this line of quotes. And it's a horrible way, I swear, my dad's a journalist, and he, to be fair, or used to be one, and that's why some of my writing actually is at least decent, because he's like, dude, this is, just never end on, just quote, wall of quote. She didn't even intersperse them properly. So, I should add that I think Trek matters more than just fans. Really? This kind of just proves this whole thing about Star Trek not being a cult thing. It was the only sci-fi universe that always had been unabashedly utopian. Well, there were problems with, again, the economics, and they bring it later. It's a Fukushima made TV. There's no sci-fi out there that laid out such a detailed vision of what it could be, where the accumulation of things is no longer a dominant passion. And okay, that was only kind of really brought up in First Contact, and that's a line. And I think I've talked with some Trek who were like, that was stupid. This whole oh, we don't need to work for anything. I'm like, maybe the problem is they didn't. What could have been done is they could have said, hey, because that made sense on a military vessel where you don't need stuff, because I've talked to Navy guys, and they're like, yeah, when you're on a boat, it's your money and it just keeps stacking up. So, and that would have been a more interesting thing. They were like, hey, yeah, as a military guy, I'm not focused on this. And a lot of us try to. That's a more common philosophy. We still have money, but our main goal is to better ourselves. That's the prevailing philosophy, is self-improvement, and that's what helps. But anyway, so it matters much more than let's on at first sight. Shatner, because of his status and platform, is showing the tiny rays of hope. Hope, however fleeting. It's sad. It doesn't help. Okay. Oh, this is such a painful. This is a painful article. They don't get the fact, I swear, that Shatner doesn't give a fuck. Let it happen. Captain Kirk can do whatever the fuck you want. You don't fuck with Captain Kirk. You don't fuck with Patrick Stewart. To be fair, Shatner was friends with a lot of. He's friends with Leonard Nimoy, at least to a certain extent. George Takei. George Takei was gay. He didn't care. I think what we realize is once you reach a certain point, you start going, okay, this doesn't feel right. And maybe, and I really like the fact again that William Shatner has become the first big mainstream troll. I guess to use a bad term, he's red-pilled. So yeah, this is bullshit. And I'm hoping that maybe him calling out this uber-aggressive pageantry that we tend to see in the Hollywood elite. It's funny, people go, oh, we see it in movies. No, we don't. In movies, they only care about green. It's the actors. See, the problem is I think a lot of them get so pompous and so high on their own smug. They're like, I'm clearly more super important, so I'm going to push all this stuff forward. Again, I don't know why I switched into British accent, but we're going to do this. The people follow. The people want this because I'm a leading actor, or I'm a leading musician, or whatever the fuck. And they think because of that they have some superpower. When they should realize, well, yes, it's influences. Shut up. I hate to say it, you're dancing marionettes. We don't normally go at. I don't go to watch, fucking Avengers to hear about Mark Ruffalo's politics or belief in like GMOs. No, all I give a fuck about is like, okay, be Bruce Banner and then be Hulk and smash shit. Now, if you have an interest, if you're like, hey, this is something I really like, and then it's, but you don't have to be, I'm in front. The big problem I think Shatner's talking about is not only you have the social justice warriors, but some of his own ilk are well, we're going to be adding like, dude, back off. You don't need all this tension. I think he got tired of it, and I think that's kind of how I'm going to wrap this. This is kind of bullshit. Fuck you, Gizmodo. Fuck you. What is his name? What's his name? Fuck you, Matt Novak. The thing is, you don't even know shit about Shatner. I mean, that's kind of interesting. You see a Jewish man walking around in a Nazi outfit. I don't think you call him alt-right, but he's a Jew. I mean, I'm not sure. Last time I checked, alt-right were, I don't know, white nationalists. Yeah, I know he's white, and they might, like, well, Jews are white. I mean, not all. Some are Sephardic Jews are black. So, to call him alt-right is kind of silly. Anyway, my name's Dan. I'm starting to stream, nearly 50 minutes. I just wanted to go ramble on. Please, if you enjoy this kind of me rambling on, like and subscribe and leave a comment. I will be doing some more stuff later. Maybe some more live streams. Maybe I'll get some friends on it, because that would be so fun. Maybe I'll get some of the YouTubers on. We'll react to stupid shit. That would be fun. Alright, see you guys later. Peace.